But the content space for me, at least with these houses, is, it started with Team 10 trying to build this media company, and it's really kind of turned into the whole TikTok, hey, it's just a house to hang out. I don't know which one's the better model. I'd love to get your thoughts on like how should these be structured? If you were thinking about building your own content house, like how would you structure this business?
Yeah, I mean, it sort of sucks that Team 10 blew up the way it did, because I actually think Team 10 in a lot of ways got some things right. And this is probably a controversial take, but I think that, like, from my understanding, Team 10 was pitched as, hey, I'm Jake Paul, I'm blowing up. I'm going to go and help blow up other artists or like other creators, make them famous. And because I'm making them famous by bringing them into Team 10, I'm going to see some upside in that. And obviously, like, that's a really big gray area within YouTube and just the collaborative culture that has happened organically. But it worked, right? Like, he helped blow up quite a few people, and I don't know if those people who were in Team 10 would deny that Jake played a major part in helping to establish them as like influencers and creators. And so that is, it's one that I don't know. Like, I think someone will crack. Like, I think someone will somehow figure out how to get into that space, and maybe it's you structure it as a management company or something like that, where instead of maybe taking a percent of AdSense or something like that, you're just like, hey, we are now going to be your managers, and for helping to give you exposure, we're going to become sort of this like full service manager that I helped blow you up, but now I get like a percentage of your brand deals or something like that. And so that might be the optimal way to do it, but it's still unclear, because I really do think there was something there, and that he clearly demonstrated that he could give these smaller creators a ton of or a huge boost. And the bigger issue is, like, if you give someone a huge boost, a lot of them don't necessarily know what to do with it. But he was really good at creating content around all of them, and it seemed like they were really onto something. But obviously, as you get them to a certain point, it's just like, okay, well, I don't want to be giving a cut to Jake anymore or Team 10 anymore, so I'm just going to leave. And so I'm always curious, like, is someone going to figure out how to do this in a more, I don't know, safe or kosher way within this ecosystem? Because that feels like a really big opportunity.
I agree with you. I don't think they got it that wrong in terms of how you structure this business. I know Jake, when he did this, the track record for blowing up talent was actually very good. There was a lot of people in Team 10 that had very successful careers in Team 10 and still, are full-fledged content creators today, taking a percentage, of that person's, I think, everything, right? Not just sponsorships, merch, AdSense, you name it. That model worked. It worked really well. I think people then, and this kind of always happens with talent, is eventually, like, say you blow someone up, talent always gets leverage. Yep. Always. Talent always has leverage, right? And I think some of the, creators in Team 10 eventually got leverage, and they were like, I'm out. I'm going to go do my own thing. But you saw, like, a lot of people that left Team 10, they kind of had that decline after they left, because they no longer had Jake, who is, back in 2017 was a machine at creating vlogs and content and really sucking people in. I was guilty of watching, I think I watched every single Jake Paul video plus Logan video in 2017, like everyone else. He was very good at what he did, and he was very good at putting it out on a daily basis, and then putting everyone in the house in that vlog. So I don't know how I would structure it differently if I was to build out a company like that. I think you're right. They probably should have built an internal management company. If you were going to build an internal management company, then you need to build like best in class services too. You can't just be like, here's your manager, talk to him for all your needs. It needs to be like, here's your merchandise team, here's your management team, here's your operations team. Like, you need to actually build best in class services, so they think and they know that they're getting the best that is out there, and they want to stay. They're incentivized to stay. That was probably some of what they forgot to build, was actual infrastructure to keep talent incentivized to stay within the house and to keep blowing people up. But at its core, I've said this a lot, Team 10 was a great, it was well executed. They just did a few things wrong late. I don't know if it's still around or not, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think it is, but I'm not sure. The thing that I'm curious about is like, well, we've seen this dynamic play out time and time again, where like the talent gets bigger than where it's at, or like the initial thing that blew it up. But we saw it with Barstool recently with Call Her Daddy, where they were like threatening to leave. There was this whole story around it, and then like Dave Portnoy from Barstool like stepped in and was like, hold up, I'm like, I helped blow you up, I helped make you successful, I gave you a huge platform, like, and now you're gonna turn your back on me. And like, if you're interested and want to dive into that story, it's super interesting to see how it all played out. But I think in Jake's case, he probably would have had to go on offense as well. And when these, I don't know, creators were going out and saying like, hey, Jake is like screwing me or whatever. But the truth is there's tons of creators right now that are smaller that have sub 100K subscribers that would be like, I'd give a percent up to X, Y, and Z person if they got me to 1 million or 2 million subscribers overnight. And like, so it's not a bad pitch. I think it's just once you're in the position of, oh my gosh, now I have 2 million subscribers, like you almost forget like how you got there. And so you're just like, and of course you probably have new managers or agents poking around and like, you don't need to keep paying Jake all that money. And so we need to figure out how to get you out of that contract. And so I just imagine that that's what's happens in those situations. And that's a really tricky thing to solve for. But I do think there like was something directionally right about what he was exploring there, and in order for like future people to explore this, like I think people have to get used to people getting upside and helping blow them up. It's not that different than a record label signing talent, and obviously there's tons of people that probably have controversy around record labels and how they are as well, but there's a reason why they exist and have existed for so long, is because they are actually helping distribute and pour marketing resources and all of that into helping someone blow up. And so I think there will probably be a label equivalent within the YouTube space. And I always thought of Team 10 as sort of that first iteration, but for a bunch of reasons it failed.
Well, and that was kind of the first, like MCN was where like the music label of the creator community was, I think, how it was pitched. And at its core, like even the MCN was a very good business model, right? But what they didn't understand is once you get to 1,000, 10,000 creators, you can't service everyone. You just can't. Yeah, especially with a team of 200 people and having 50,000 creators, I think was what Fullscreen, I think they even had more creators than that. Those companies just became like, who can get the biggest and who can scale the quickest to eventually sell. And they lost the underlying philosophy of like, let's help creators grow and like, let's be their network and their label. And that's kind of where this thing flew off the hinges. And it's what we've seen with content houses and why some of them have failed. So it's been really interesting, especially from my point of view, talking with certain clients of ours, like, okay, how do you treat talent? Like, what do you do once they get to a certain point? But I would imagine I could go out and find a lot of people that want to be content creators and want to be YouTubers. They would probably give up 50, 60, 70, 80% of all their earnings if they knew that they could latch onto a massive creator and would have a successful career and could do this for the rest of their life. So I think it's only a matter of time before someone figures this out and actually provides value. And they're going to take a hefty percentage. They really are. And there's going to be talent that blows up through those, like we've seen before, and it's going to get ugly. But people are not going to stop doing this. I still think it's a solid business model at its core. We just have seen a lot of people fail at it, but that doesn't mean that people should stop doing it.